Our only way out of doing anything apart from working in hotels or care work or working at Saga.
Yeah, we come from a seaside town where the only work opportunities are either a factory called Portex, Saga Holidays, or hotel kitchens. And I worked in hotel kitchens for years, and then I thought, should I have a go at music? So I got a job in a recording studio, and I actually hate musicians. So I didn't really get on.
Naked woman used to work.
Yeah, that's where they were naturists. And you'd be sort of recording, and a naked bloke go past on a tractor. And all the band would be going, what the hell is going on?
It's a great story.
And so that wasn't very good for me either, so I thought, well, we'll have to sort of cut the musicians out of the music and do it ourselves. And we got our own studio in Clapham, and we've recorded all our records.
I was doing backing vocals in a funk band, which is very different, but I didn't really think it was anything that you could actually make money from. It was just like, you know, something to do, really. So I was kind of sewing before that, making ballroom gowns, you know, with sequins and things. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. It was these guys that were like, you're gonna be
a famous singer.
Yeah. I was like, all right then.
We used to make sort of Cajun psychedelic country and rock mixed with hip-hop and blues, and everyone would tell us that there was no way that anyone was going to buy blues mixed with hip-hop, and we were mad. And so we tried to do things that were contemporary in a way, and we met Skye, and we did some sort of languid kind of stuff, and Portishead had just broken big, and everyone went, hey, forget about what we just said to you. You guys are great. Come back again. And you know, it's still very much the music that we're really into, but you sort of have to come in on it on an angle to get the A&R people to listen.
I mean, the stuff we were doing before we met Skye sort of sounds like Moby's Play record. It was a lot of blues samples and slide guitar and hip-hop beats.
It sounds a lot better than that, though, doesn't it?
Well, it's subjective, really, isn't it? But we knew we needed some sort of focal point for the group, because we go off and any time anybody gave us some money to do some music, we'd explore a different territory. And, you know, we thought in order to sort of get through to the sort of thick-skulled people at record companies that we'd had to market this sort of particular thing. And there's only so much Chinese food you can eat.
And ended up signing with China Records.
We signed with China because they were like a bit of a sinking ship.
Best Chinese food as
well.
well.
And with, you know, our idea at the time, being the sort of prima donna egomaniac I am, was to sort of be the biggest thing on a small label rather than the smallest thing on a big label. And so they had to really work hard for us. And
it's very sensual. I mean, it's recorded mostly in a bedroom. And it used to make us laugh, because you get What Hi-Fi magazine and they'd say, this is the best track to listen to your new Bang & Olufsen stereo on. And we think, we recorded that on an 8-track in a bedroom. Like, what kind of hi-fi test is that? But it just goes to show how good we are with limited equipment. And I think it was a very soulful, heartfelt record, and a lot of people take it very seriously, and they want us to be very serious because of that record. And we're quite cheeky and chirpy, really. And
it was, we'd never actually sort of written any songs prior to that. I mean, Trigger Hippie was the first song we'd ever written. We were like, oh, what do? You obviously have a verse, and then you've obviously got to have some sort of chorus, and then maybe we'd just drop out to the drums for a while and then back into a verse, or we really had no idea how to write songs. So when the excitement started with Trigger Hippie, we just lied to everyone that we had an album waiting to go. And so we consequently had to just write an album really quick, and we did that straight off. And I was going through a really bad time in my life at that point. I mean, obviously now those things don't seem so important, but at the time it was everything. And so I just wrote nastily about the sort of misery that I was in, and people were like, wow, these bitter lyrics by this beautiful, sweet voice.
We thought that we'd sell about 50,000 copies, and that would be amazing, because there would be 50,000 people that bought our record, and that was just incredibly amazing to us. But it went on to sell 500,000, and we sort of, I don't know, it was a bit confusing, because we just did an American tour that never stopped for about a year. And by the time we'd finished that, we were just completely blown out of our minds because we'd just been on the dole and then we just toured the world for 18 months non-stop. And it was no specific point where we thought, oh, we've made it now, this is really cool, we can do whatever we like. It was just very hard work for a long time. We'd already written Big Calm, we recorded that immediately following, or whilst we were touring, and then carried on touring that. And so it hasn't been until recently that we've sort of sat back and thought, oh, that was quite good, we did quite well there. We exceeded our...
David Byrne phoned up and said, will you do my record? And our families were, like, our cousins and stuff were just such huge Talking Heads fans, and I think they'd always sort of considered us sort of druggy wasters or something. And then we got this job and everyone just went, wow, God, they've made it, it's David Byrne. And that was loads of fun, actually. I really enjoyed making that record, and he's a very interesting guy.
It's strange, so we're in a seaside town, and then we're just touring America, and we're going to all these places that when we were kids, we'd watch the Blues Brothers or, you know, whatever, and read books about the Rolling Stones touring. You think, this is amazing, I'm in Detroit, with, you know, and then you actually get there, well, the second or third time you're there, you think, I don't actually like this, I want to go back to my seaside town now. Run in and do some guitar and then run out again. And Paul stopped touring with us for a while, and we got a replacement DJ so we could mix the record. But we literally just did release it and then carry on touring, and we just toured and toured and toured and toured. And it did help ourselves a bit, but not dramatically, and we ended up spending all the money that we earned from selling the records on touring. And so that sort of changed our view of the music business a bit.
Ended up in debt to the record company.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we ended up, we were like, through touring, at one point we'd sold 1.5 million records and we were still £500,000 in debt. Because touring in America, we spent 6 months in 1 year touring in America, and it was costing us about 100 grand a week to tour. And we were playing in small clubs to people that already had our records. They weren't playing us on the radio, and they wouldn't play us on MTV. And this went on for months and months, and you're just getting bullshitted constantly by these people just fed utter rubbish. And I think the idea is that they just keep you so busy that you can't actually think for yourself, and that if you do stop and sort of take stock, you realise it's not there.
Yeah, it was a very trying time for me.
I was in a coma for 9 months, and then I had a baby.
It was just, we were very tired and sort of sick of the rubbish. And we got back and we just had 6 months off, and we sacked all our band and crew and our manager, and luckily China Records sort of kind of got absorbed into Warner Brothers, so we had a new record company. It was like a fresh start. And we all had like 6 months to get our lives back together and sort of buy places to live and spend time with the people that we used to know. And that kind of grounded us a bit more. And then when we met up after that, it was like, well, this was our thing originally, you know, why should we let loads of other people put us off, you know? And so we started writing again and recorded Fragments of Freedom, which is remarkably more kind of upbeat and happy. We wanted to get all the cheese out of our system. And it was very, very fun to make. And it was much more fun to play live as well, because Big Calm and Who Can You Trust is so morbid and like smacked out that when you're playing it live, it's just sort of, everyone in the audience is just like, oh, this is great, but I'm just like, and then when we started playing Fragments of Freedom live, people were dancing and singing along, and we were like, I can't believe it, they're dancing at one of our gigs. They're normally like just hunched over each other trying to stay awake. But it was just the most un-Pink Floyd-like album we've done so far. We're a bit sick of the tranquility. And it's just nice to do different things and have different spectrums, you know.
I was feeling naturally happy. I'd sort of fallen in love and, you know, was getting married and stuff, and then that was all good, but I was very unhappy on my career, and because all my dreams had been shattered, all, you know, my rock and roll dreams had gone down the toilet like Spinal Tap. And so I thought, you know, why did I used to like music? And well, I used to like music because it used to make me feel good. Okay, why doesn't it make me feel good anymore? It's because I've been playing the same old shit over and over again for 3 years. So I just went out of my way to listen to music that I would normally be embarrassed by. And I'd listen to
Britney Spears.
Not stuff like that. Stuff like ABBA at full volume and stuff like that. And
Mace.
And Mace and Puff Daddy and all this kind of awful stuff that was really cheesy that I didn't... But people obviously loved it because it's like... you know, massive. So yeah, so sort of enforced that onto us really for a change of scene. And just because I do believe that we should have the freedom to do whatever the hell we want, regardless of how people pigeonhole us. And it was a great learning experience because Skye performed better vocals than she ever had done. And, you know, I think we wrote Rome Wasn't Built on a Day. I think it was a great song. And but it was definitely a learn. I don't quite know where they came from, actually. They were certainly far more open and honest than I'd ever been as a person. And that was quite shocking because I felt I had to live up to that, and I obviously couldn't live up to that because I was like a drunken nutcase. And so that was quite weird. But then on this record, I approached a more sort of paint by numbers, used a more paint by numbers approach, and it was just about words that sang well rather than words that really meant anything. And so it's not quite as sort of deep and dark as the other stuff. We wanted to call the album Mindless Happiness. Just because we've been so miserable for so long, it was just a challenge. And it has worked because for me, I can be happy now. You know, I don't have to be pissed off all the time. I do know how to enjoy myself and to let myself go, which was something I could never do without drinking a bottle of tequila. So, you know, a lot of positivity has come out of it, and we're much stronger as a band now. I used to read the internet site a bit, and you know, a few people really took it personally. It's like we'd spoilt their whole identity or something by not being true to them, and I actually find that quite offensive. And I'm not very keen on selfish fans like that who try and build their own
it's
sense of call out.
people like me that make you who you are.
I don't actually agree with that. And I think we should have the freedom to do what we want, and in doing what we want, I think that sends out a more positive message to people than conforming to some sort of genre. But I think the good thing now is that having done all this mad stuff and experimented with all the folk and country and disco and funk and, you know, all the music we like, that now we've really found our own sound. We've been recording recently, and for the first time ever I feel like we're making music that is natural to us, that is our sound. And it's very good.
It's not that we directly wanted to piss anyone off, but if they couldn't understand what we were doing, then obviously they weren't the right fans for us.
So we've been auditioning fans for our new record, and we think we've got quite a good cross-section of interesting people.
There is a good cross-section, actually. When you look at the audience of the shows,
it's incredible.
You know, I remember when we played at Shepherd's Bush in London, in the front row there's a guy that, he must have been about 50-odd, sort of grey hair and glasses and a suit, and then there was sort of a young girl, must have been about 12, and then there was the trendy couple sort of, you know, holding hands and thinking, oh, we made love to this song, sort of thing, and all kind of mouthing the words of the song. So, you know, I think that's brilliant.
But you just get, you get such a cross-section. You get black people, Asian people, old people, young people, couples. I mean, I do think it's amazing that Big Calm is probably one of the only albums that men and women can listen to and agree upon, because normally guys like shit like the Manic Street Preachers and girls like
M people,
just wet stuff, I don't know. So we're actually credible for both sexes, you know, that people that pick music for adverts are actually more musically clued up than people that program Radio 1 and so-called sort of young stations. And so there's that element that you actually get cooler music in advert. I mean, now if I watch MTV and stuff, I don't know what's an advert and what's a pop video. I mean, it's so confusing. I really never know. Because all the video directors that make music videos make the adverts, and all the bands appear and all the music appears in the adverts, and it just tends to be the way it is now. And it's almost, I mean, Moby made it like a stamp of credibility that I've sold out every single track on my album. You know, that it became like a plus point. They reframed it, and I think that's right now, because and if you don't let people use your music, they'll only get some twat in a bedroom to copy it anyway, and somebody, are you on that advert? You'll be like, no, it's some awful
like, yeah. It'll be your mate Danny doing
It's like the Beatles. They say, oh, you can't use our music, but they just have like really bad cover versions of Beatles songs. I mean, what that doesn't do the Beatles any favours.
And also the way that the music business is set up, it's set up in the way that the artists don't actually make much money from selling records, if they make any money at all. And so things like that help you carry on doing what you're doing without having to pander to loads of other pressures to do loads of other work, you know. And it's just a shortcut that helps you sort of, you know, helps you get on and do things. I mean, it's not that bad.
Well, people get to hear it, don't they? And that's the main thing. I mean, you know, it's never been, oh, we want to stay underground for the rest of our lives. It's never really been, that's not really an ambition to have, really, when you're creating music.
They're using our music in America for a Pantene shampoo advert.
Yeah.
And I thought that was sort of worse than a car advert.
Well,
But it's
I like
quite
to
funny.
promote polluting the planet and clean hair. I think it's all part of the Morcheeba message.